Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Dreadstar TV. Today, we are talking KBO baseball. The amount of excitement around the country, around the league, is something I have never seen before. And this even includes in 2018 when Hanwha actually made the playoffs for the first time in 11 years. The Korean Monster's back. He is selling out stadiums, exhibition games in Busan. People want to see him that much. On top of that, the MLB had opening day here in Korea, sold out at Gochuk Sky Dome. And at one point, Team Korea was actually beating the team that most people believe are going to win the World Series in the MLB. So lots of excitement around the league. But that's in the past. We're talking about the present and the future of the KBO and where your team's going to end up this year in 2024. So, my predictions here, it's opening day today. I don't have a lot of time, so I'm doing this in one take. And I am a Hanwha fan, obviously, but no homer picks today. We are going to do this as a true baseball fan would. Now, let's get right into it. In 10th place, unfortunately, Kium. Most people are picking Kium to finish last because there's not a lot to be excited for this team. They finished last year, and the ability for them to stick around and play well for that many years is really surprising to me because they're really like a farm system for the MLB, sending in Park Byung-ho, Kim Ha-sung, just recently Lee Jong-woo, and then next year Kim Ha-sung is going to be posted and head to the MLB. So the fact that they can stay relevant for that long, and they finally fell off, it happens. It's a time for them to rebuild, but the fact that they've been this long without falling off has been remarkable, honestly. Now, what do they have to look forward to? Kim Ha-sung's last season. Dawson has played well in the spring. He played well against the MLB teams. I really like him in the outfield. But again, Lee Jong-woo was the second on the team in WAR in half the games. He's gone. Their best pitcher, Anu Jin, Tommy John surgery. He's doing his military duty. He's gone. Sure, they still have Herrero, who pitched extremely well last year, 265 ERA. They still have him. They brought in Emmanuel de Jesus, but I just don't see how they're going to do anything in this league. They just are missing way too many pieces. So in the 10th spot, Kium. Now, the ninth spot, Samsung. Last year they were 61 and 82, didn't play well. They are an aging team. They do have a lot of pieces. Kang Min-ho obviously plays very well. 338 WAR. Gujau had a rebound last year, played well, but they're replacing all three foreigners, which is really, really, really difficult to do. Even when they're just teams replacing one or two, it's still pretty difficult to get these foreigners right these days. So again, Buchanan left, signed a minor league deal. He wanted to stay, but they couldn't come up with anything. Perella, after a really solid season in 2022, had a bit of a down season last year. Still played extremely well, but he's gone. And then they had Suarez and Widener last year on the mound besides Buchanan. 30 starts, 19 starts, 20 starts. Where are they going to get these starts from? They do have one solid pitcher, Juan Tayin, who I think is going to have a setback this year because with the automatic balls and strikes, the games I've watched him pitch, he gets a lot of those calls that are not strikes. So I'm actually thinking that he's going to take a step back. Outside of him, Baekhyun Hyun is their next best starter, and he was 2 wins above replacement. 2020 had a 5.19 ERA. 21 he had a 2.63 ERA. Great. 22 he had a 5.27 ERA. Back down. 2023 3.61 ERA. So it's been up and down. He's due for that 5 something ERA again. So I just don't see how they can, you know, win games. Now, the one thing for Samsung is they gave up 9 walk-offs and they brought back Oh Sung-wan. But they did sign KT's closer, and so maybe that will help them get a couple more wins. Maybe move them up to 8th or maybe 7th if other teams struggle and they really hit their foreigners. But I just don't see it. Okay. So number 9, Samsung. Now number 8, the team that finishes in 8th almost every single year, Lotte. Now Lotte has a few things that I'm really high on. Last year, Barnes pitched pretty well, but the man they brought in to replace Straley pitched extremely well. Wilkinson, he just really pitched well. He had like a 2.55 ERA, something like that, 2.26 ERA. Only pitched 13 games, but was one of their best pitchers on the team, no questions. Barnes is back. Pak Seung is also back. Nagyuan is back, but there has been some chatter, some talk about some other issues outside of baseball. I haven't really been following them. I don't follow the tabloid stuff, but that is out there. I don't know what is coming from that, but if they miss him, that's going to be a pretty big thing. The problem for Lotte is scoring. One, they play in the biggest stadium because of the walls in Busan. But if you look at their best players, uh, 38 years old, Chun Junu, 38. Again, played extremely well last year, but he's 38 now. An Ji-hong was their second best. He's with Hanwha now. Yu Gang Nam had a 221 WAR. Now, the thing is they're one of their best players in terms of WAR was a backup catcher. So, can they score any runs to win? And I think that's going to be Lotte's biggest thing because Kim Min-sok is already injured and Yoon Dong-mi is also injured, has a hamstring injury. They're expecting him to be out for 4 weeks at least. The bullpen had, a 4.63 ERA, not a good ERA. So if they can't score, and I really feel like Lotte just is missing a half of a team. Now, from there, the number 7 spots, and this is going to be the first team that made the playoffs last year, but this year they're not. Okay, so SSG is going to finish in 7th this year. Let me get my notes here. 7th this year, and the reason why is they're old. I'm sorry, but they're old. They had an amazing year in 2022 where they won it all, but their best player, Che Jung, okay, he's 37 years old. Okay, and then their outfielder, Che Ji-hoon, 2023 he only hit 268. Is that his regular? Or is it the 2022 where he hit 304? Because in 2020 he hit 261 or 258. In 2021 he hit 262. So that 2022 when they won the Korean series was just kind of an outlier. Chu Shin-soo's last season, but he really hasn't been great, and only played in 112 games in both of the last 2 years. So, he's going to be 42 in July. This team again is old. Han Yu-sum, 35. He's going to be 35 this year. Ha Jae-jun, I can't even read my own writing. He's going to be 34. So a lot of this team is old. Now, they do have, they brought back their batter, Heredia, who had an outstanding season last year, 323, 76 runs, 153 hits. just played extremely well and was one of the guys that was up there for the MVP of the KBO. He played extremely well. He's back. I expect a lot of great things from him, but again, I'm still so worried about that age. On the pitching side, who you have Kim Kwon Hyun, who is 36. Eh? Oh On Sok had a good season, but he's also been an up down guy. 2023 he had a 559, then a 383, then a 450, then a 523, and where is he, and what kind of pitcher is he going to be? Uh, so Sa Jin Young had 42 saves. For a very long time, he didn't give up a run. So absolutely fantastic. The other two guys in the mix for starting, Park Jung Hoon had a 3.86 ERA, or sorry, a 6.19 ERA and a 6.00 ERA in 2022. Did pitch better than the spring with a 3.86, and then Moon Seung Wan, 5.23 ERA in 2023. And in 2022 didn't pitch extremely well either. Where are they going to get the wins from? They did bring back Elias Elias. I'm not sure exact pronunciation, because Korean pronunciation that I'm reading is often changed, but he pitched well. 3.6 3.70 ERA. Not great, but well. And then they brought in Duggar for 900,000, and I think he's going to be a really good pitcher. And 4.32 ERA. So, I look at the AAA stats whenever I'm looking at pitchers, because if they can do well in AAA, they can do well in the KBO usually, because the AAA seems to be a little bit more up of a step than the KBO. So 4.31 ERA, lots of strikeouts, 143 strikeouts in 149 innings. Did walk 60, but that's not really that many compared to most. So I think he's going to pitch well, but I think with age comes the concern about injuries. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing for SSG, is the injuries. So that's your number 7 team. And now the number 6 team, the team that so many people are high on, but I just don't see it. The number 6 team this year is going to be Hanwha. They are going to miss the playoffs despite what a lot of people are saying. And again, I hope I'm wrong. As a fan, I hope I'm wrong. But I just don't see it. Yes, they brought back the Korean monster, Ryu Hyunjin. That's so hard for me to say. But Moon Dong-ju obviously was the rookie of the year last year, pitched really well, but he does have some issues with some control. It was evident in the game, the Team Korea versus Padres game. I think he walked 4 batters in the first inning. He does have some struggles with control, where he's throwing, not pitching as much. He's going to be great. I'm not thinking about that, but outside of those two, I really am concerned. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, well, they have Pena and Sanchez. Yeah, who weren't really great. And I know this is going to surprise people, but I'm shocked that they signed them. I really am shocked that they signed them. Pena, had a 3.60 ERA? He wasn't even in the top 15 of pitchers. Hanwha needs great pitchers, not good, really good pitchers. So on top of that, he was 3rd in the league in runs given up, 7th in walks, 3rd in homers. His spring has been giving up a lot of homers. In 2022, when he came, he gave up a lot of homers. I'm concerned. Sanchez, in 24 starts, had a 3.79 ERA. He was 5th in the league in home runs given up. Not even a full season. This spring, the same thing. I'm not sold on that. I really am not sold on that. On top of that, how are they going to score runs? You know, they've struggled to score runs, and the outfield is still. I mean, the outfield is still everywhere. You know, now they signed An Chi Hong in the offseason, which I think is great, but I was expecting that to be a signing because Jung In Wan would maybe go do military service, or maybe he'll go to do his military service this year, something like that. And they want to back up, but they've had An Chi Hong at first, and it's been a disaster. Like I've watched the games and his footwork is bad. He's going for balls that he should be sitting back on. He's playing first like a second baseman, and you can't do that. Is the wrong foot's on the bag when he's trying to catch. Like it's just not been pretty, and so he's gonna have to play second, which means Jung In Wan is gonna have to play outfield. And Hanwha has tried this twice recently with Jung In, and it was a disaster. And then Kim Tae Yun in left also, which was also a disaster. So I just don't. I just it too many just different pieces that all have to fit perfectly together. And then you have the dugout. I'm still not sold on the dugout. I'm not sold on the guy behind in pulling the strings. It just the 2 seasons that I've watched him, just so many mind-boggling things that I'm just like, what? So that's going to be why Hanwha is in sixth. Now, before we get into who's going to make the playoffs this year, please, if you do like this KBO information, KBO videos, please make sure you subscribe so that you can get notified whenever I'm going to go live, because I will be live streaming the Hanwha away games here on the YouTube channel. So let's get into fifth place. Now, fifth place is going to be kind of a shock, I think, to some. NC. I think NC is going to finish fifth. They did make the playoffs last year, and they are bringing in 3 new foreigners, but they've had so much success with foreigners. It's hard to deny. You know, they they had Martini, and we're like, oh, he played well, but they replaced him with Martini, and he played well. And then Ruchinski was gone, and we're like, oh, there's no way. So what did they do? They brought in the 2023 MVP, the 2.0 ERA, Che Dongwan Award winner, who went off to sign with the Chicago White Sox. They just always sign foreigners, and they're going to score. Okay, So Nasap had a fantastic season last year. He has 36, but he's played almost every single game, every single year for years. Park Kanu had a great season last year. Park Minu also played well. I mean, they just play well, and they mix the wins around. Fetty had 20 wins. Next was Shin Min Hyuk, who had 5. They just they just have guys that kind of step up. The biggest problem for NC and what could keep them out of the playoffs is their defense. They led the league in 130 errors. So it could be, and I will say I've not been impressed with their 2 arms this year. So Hanwha could make that jump into the playoffs with NC falling back, but there's still so many moving parts. So 6th place, Hanwha. 5th place, NC Dinos. Now, in 4th place, I find my sheet here. Kia. I think Kia is going to make the jump here. Last year, they just missed the playoffs by 1 game. They are bringing back so many players. Socrates Brito, obviously. Che Yong-woo. Nasung Bom has had some injuries. I tried to find some information on it, but I couldn't find exactly. Nasung Bom, who was absolutely destroying the league, like unreal, like video game stats when he came back, but then he got injured again. And I think if he doesn't get injured, they easily make the playoffs. Park Chan Ho, Kim Sung Bin, Kim Do Young made the leap last year. And then they also got Che Wan Jun back from military duty. So, and if you notice, those are Koreans, except for Brito. Uh, and then on the pitching side, they still have Young Hyun. Why can I? Young Hyun Jung. And then Iwiri. So they still have two Korean guys. And the reason why I'm so high on them is because last year their foreign pitching was so bad. Like just a decent foreign pitcher, and they make the playoffs also. You had Pagano, who had 16 games but had a 4.29 ERA. Anderson, who pitched in 14 games, had a 3.76 ERA. Sanchez came in, had 12 games at a 5.94 ERA. And Media had 12 games and a 6.05 ERA. Their foreign pitching was so bad. Will Crow is one of the new arms, and James Nail or Nail, I don't know, former Cardinal and Cape Girardeau man from my home state of Missouri. And I think he's going to pitch extremely well. So I think Kia's going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to make the playoffs based on finally having some pitching to go with the offense. Obviously, they have to close the games off, but so Kia in fourth. Now, next up in third place this year is going to be Doosan. Doosan played extremely well last year, bringing back both Alcantara and Waddle, 2.67 ERA and a 2.49 ERA. They've both pitched extremely well. Add on to that, Guokbin, another arm. So they have plenty of arms to go, and they brought in Henry Ramos, who was playing extremely well for KT a couple years ago, but ended up, I believe, fouling a ball off of his toe and was going to be gone too long, and that's when they brought in Alford. And anytime you have Yang E.G., you're going to make the playoffs. Big thing for him is Yang E.G. throws out the most runners, and with the bigger bases, that's going to play an even bigger role in shutting down teams from scoring. So obviously they have Jung Soo Bin, Young Sung Han, who they re-signed, who I was really hoping Hanwha would sign and take away in free agency, but they re-signed him, and the vacuum over on third base, Ha Kyung Min. So they have a good, solid Korean core. They have some foreigners, so I think that easily third place for them. Now, we're going to get into the second team. And the second team in the league is not so much about what they can't do, but why I'm so high on the first team. So, second place team this year in the KBO regular season is going to be LG. I don't see them repeating the winning the regular season last year. I see them, last year they were 86 and 56, but do they have the same drive? Huge thing where, they finally won the championship. And if you think about teams like the Royals after they finally won, the Cubs after they finally won, what happened the following season despite having that main core? Okay? So I look at it like that with LG. And recently, teams aren't repeating here in the KBO. So, Dean is back. Austin Dean, again, another Cardinal, is back. He played extremely well. My concerns are Hong Chang-gi had a career year last year. Can he repeat that, or was it kind of a one-off thing? He had a 6.01 WAR, which was way above his regular average. Moon Bo-kyung hits the ball well, but what about his defense? He led the league in non-shortstop errors last year. So is his defense going to help him there? The biggest thing for them last year is they had no injuries last year. They had no big injuries. Now, they still didn't, they only had they had one big injury where Plutko didn't pitch, but yeah, I mean, what are they going to do if they have injuries? They do have an older team in a lot of the areas. So, what are they going to do? Kelly had his worst year. He was 10-7 with a 3.83 ERA. I was even wondering if they were going to bring him back, but he is such a fan favorite that they did bring him back. Im Chang-gyu, 14-3. Did he finally turn the corner and figure it out? Again, another solid record year. Che Wan-tae came over in that Kium trade. So, is the new scenery, is that what puts him into where he needs to be? I'm just worried that they won last year without any significant injuries and the big drive of winning the first series in 29 years. Can they do that again? I guess we'll see. Which means the number one team that I believe is going to win the Korean regular season is the KT Wiz. Now, why? One, they were 79-62 last year, but they had a ton of injuries. A lot of people don't remember that at one point KT was in last. Like, I believe in May, KT was last in the league. They were 10th in the league, and they ran all the way up into second. Not only that, they didn't play the playoffs with Kang Baek-ho. Their best player, Alfred, they got rid of to bring in one of the best players the KBO has seen in Mel Rojas Jr. And he's done nothing but absolutely rake in the spring. Just launching balls, souvenirs to people that aren't in the outfield. And so for me, the high hopes KT is, again, they have Park Byung-ho. They have Won Jae-gyun. Both of those guys are older, but they're still pretty productive. Bae Jung-dae, they're going to have him for a full season. And then Kang Baek-ho has a lot of injury history, but they've been like freak injuries. So if they can keep him, plus Mel Rojas Jr. Then on the pitching side, Go Young-pyo, outstanding Korean pitcher. Young Korean pitcher, has pitched extremely, extremely well. Benjamin, who I thought was going to end up getting sent back to the U.S. From May to July, was actually 9-1. Had a 3.54 ERA, went 15-6, and just really figured it out. Fell off a little at the end, but that may be because of first year as a full-time starter. Then they brought back Cuevas, who, after leaving, coming back, he only went 12-0 with a 2.60 ERA, was in the mix for the Chae Dong-won Award, the Korean Cy Young Award, when only playing a half a season. He pitched extremely well before he left, and now he's back. The biggest concern for me for KT is one, closing games. They gave up no walk-offs last year, but Kim Jae-yoon, their closer, who had 42 saves last year, is now on Samsung. Do they have somebody that can close out the games that they win or that they're leading in? So that is going to be all for the KBO predictions. I will make 3 bonus predictions for those of you that stayed around. First of all, the MVP of the league is going to be Mel Rojas Jr. I don't think I'm going too far out on a limb here. But yeah, so going to be the... let me get back. I got to pull this back up. Yeah, so the league MVP is going to be Mel Rojas Jr. The Che Dongwan Award winner is going to be Wilkinson. I love what he has pitched. The biggest concern, obviously, is going to be, how do they think about wins and losses and things like that. Obviously, Ryu Hyun-jin is the popular pick, but I don't want to do that. But I am going to pick one Hanwha player, and that's going to be the Rookie of the Year, Wang Jun. So I think he's going to end up coming up because Hanwha's bullpen is pretty shaky. And again, I talked about the starters. I think he's going to come up, and he did pitch well whenever he played. Obviously, against the Dodgers, he also struck out the only batter that he faced. Lefty, 18 years old, pitches extremely well. So I think he is going to win the KBO Rookie of the Year. Now, with all that said, let me know what you think about my predictions down in the comments. And again, if you like some KBO, make sure you subscribe. And I will be going live later today for the opening day between the Hanwha Eagles and the LG Twins. Thank you. Bye.